Some things just never change. Or do they? Hello, my fellow hunters! Recently, Hollow did a lovely little talk about all of the various little niggles and concerns and worries that us, you guys, other creators, have had with Wilds from the time we've spent playing it, talking about it, and just generally being submerged in it entirely, every waking minute for the last, month. But I think there is one particular topic that deserves its own full, this, and that is difficulty. It's something I have talked about before, numerous times in the past, because it's quite the, I don't want to quite say hot topic when it comes to Monster Hunter, but an incredibly interesting one, because it's not like Monster Hunter has this reputation for brutality that the Souls games has garnered, despite it being a actiony, rolling, bossy experience. It's not really what it's about. It's about a nice, fair, fun, balanced dance of death with this living creature, bringing all your hunting knowledge, preparation, and skills against it, and it's not supposed to be cart 8,756 times. Okay, we did it. We can move on with our lives. You farm monsters, right? So the ideal world always to me is that the first successful hunt of a hard monster, your apexes, your elder dragons, your end bosses, your title update monsters, should be quite a, okay, yes, alright, fist pump, okay, let's do it, come on, type of response, and then you very quickly sink in to this comfortable rhythm where occasionally through the joy of anything can happen on a hunt, you have your odd carts, maybe your odd triple, but for the most part you get into the groove and you can farm it with your eyes closed. There is a very deep satisfaction in both those states, and Monster Hunter does that very well. Your first Fatalis in Iceborne was probably quite the relief, as you had 30 seconds left, no healing, and one cart remaining. Oh, boom! Oh! 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 Oh, Jesus, that's violent. Oh, God. Really? What was that final hand?
Oh, alright then, I'll die. Okay.
Are you ready for Monster Hunter, powered by Monster Hunter? See, for the 20th anniversary, MSI partnered with Monster Hunter to create the Rain Wyvern, a Novatech build of which there is only 35, and you don't need my words to see that it is gorgeous. So a huge thank you to MSI for sponsoring this video and for letting me have a good old play with some seriously cool Monster Hunter kit. This thing, as you can see, has serious power behind it, and the RTX 460 Ti Monster Hunter Edition at its heart is something quite special, as is the Monster Hunter edition of both the GC30 controller and the MAG 274 QRF QDE2 monitor. I mean, this together.
So tasty!
Can you not think of a better way to experience Wilds when that glorious time comes next year? And if your response to that is, hell yes! Well, the links to all of it can be found down below for your delectation. For now then, let's get on with the show. But then, 3 weeks later, you had enough material to make all of his armor and weapons 5 times over. And that's the flow. But that flow is impossible to judge how well it is implemented in a demo for a Monster Hunter game. They are very much deliberately not representative of how things will actually be. Raid will never be as hard as he is in the demo. Doshaguma will probably never be as easy as he is in the demo. It is set up in a way to be approachable at the lower tier while having this looming almost unconquerable threat at the higher, like trying to beat Nergi in the world demo in the Wildspire Waste. It was possible, but it was something you had to really push for, or Valstrax in the GU one. So when it comes to difficulty, I don't really want to talk about the raw mechanical challenge of the monsters and whether it might be too much or too little in Wilds, because it's honestly quite impossible to say. All we can say is that for the most part, that has always been in a lovely sweet spot essentially through the entirety of Monster Hunter's history. There is of course some examples where it certainly hasn't in both directions, all the way back in the very first game where fighting the controls was harder than hunting any given Elder Dragon. Or we have somewhat the opposite, where I would say Devil Joe in his world introduction was really kind of awkwardly easy, and it really sort of deflated the whole "just you wait, fifth leaders that have never played any other Monster Hunter, you're about to get eaten," and he just kind of wasn't. Even then, they had to add the super tempered version where we started to feel it. I would also argue that Rajang kind of felt a bit anticlimactic compared to his older self, but I digress. What I want to really get into today, I say like 4.5 minutes into this talk, trying to now reach the main actual point, is ease caused by comfort, by quality of life, by hand-holding, by the game helping you in a way that may feel artificial. That level of the game is getting too easy is, I think, something that's really worth exploring. To use an example in the direction of too difficult artificially, it is what I just said with Monster Hunter 1. Just controlling your hunter was a battle. It sucked, and I loved the game, but it did. It has gotten way smoother now, and in World onwards, especially in Wilds, it's a pleasure to control your hunter, but it wasn't always that way. Even just claw gripping up on the PSP made it artificially harder than the literal mechanical challenge of the game. But as the years have gone by, we've gained things that have made things smoother and smoother in ways that not everyone has always agreed with. Such as in World onwards being able to just go to a tent and restock all of your healing. That is probably the champion example, and one that I will be talking about in more depth in a little bit. So when it comes to Wilds, people have seen a few little things and got a bit worried. And I understand it. Your health bar being all super wibbly red warning when a big attack is coming your way along with a flash on your hunter. That can and does feel very hand-holdy. It's a sense of, it kind of takes away from it. The joy, the challenge, the fun is learning the monster's tells and its movements and its twitches so you know what's about to happen so you can avoid it, not get this big in your face, okay, I guess it's time to dive. But in that instance, if you are an experienced hunter, you don't need the wibbly wobbly, and if you are not an experienced hunter, you'll see the wibbly wobbly, but you'll still have no idea what exactly is going to happen or how to deal with it. It only kind of alerts you that there is something you should be paying attention to right now, and in that essence, it's a learning tool, but it's not a trivializing tool. You might get a flash that Raidao is railgunning, but how to successfully best avoid railgun, that's still up to you, good luck. And then, as I say, if you're experienced, if you fought him loads, if you know the railgun and how to dodge it, you don't need the warning, you know he's about to do it, and you know how to dodge it. So I think it's a very, kind of whatever example. As is something like health potions automatically choosing the right size one for how much health you're missing. That's the thing you're going to do anyway. It just saves you literally selecting it an extra time on your item bar, and that's just kind of fine. Something like being able to get on your secret and sharpen and heal, and the monster can't do anything about it. Initially, I was on team, I don't like that, it does just kind of trivialize it, it's free, you don't have to think about it, but then the very good point was raised that, hang on a minute, we've been doing this in a different way since literally Monster Hunter 1. The good old, yeah, sorry, I'm on 10% health, I've got yellow sharpness, oh, what's that, I left the oven on in the other zone, I'll be right back, Mr. Monster, new zone transition, and then you're good to go, you can just completely fully heal up, fully sharpen, and then get back in there. And that achieves the same thing, but with more of a breaking of the flow of the hunt. At least on your secret, you're kind of still running around the monster, it's still vaguely trying to get you, you're still engaged. And I think that is a very fair kind of equivalent thing. So I'm not too worried on that front too. Then you have the whole kind of general arms race between monsters and hunters, starting I think predominantly in GU when we got our various styles like valor sheathing, giving everyone a way to counter a monster attack, and then your hunter arts like the big iframe spin dodge that also sharpens your weapon, and then we go into World and Iceborne with clutch claw, being able to just slam and down monsters constantly, all of the switch skills and silk binds in Rise and Sunbreak, all of the new tools that weapons and hunters have gotten that have meant that monsters have got to get faster and better at killing you because you're so much better at not being killed. And that's an entirely different topic, I think, on whether that's a good or a bad thing, the relative back and forth power creep. Like, you look at older Monster Hunter, the number and speed of actions of both the hunter and the monster, the pace of everything, it looks like slow motion compared to these days. But I also think that these days are inarguably more fun. And this brings me to what I want to say is my big main point of this entire discussion so far. And I apologize if it's been a little bit meandery, but I think that's sometimes just nice to just kind of generally talk things. So my big main point here is going to be thus. I believe that Monster Hunter has definitively done two things over the course of its existence. The first is gotten easier. The second is gotten better. And those two things do exist, at least in my mind, in tandem. I think it is hard to argue that World, and now Wilds, is definitively the best Monster Hunter experience. But I also think it is hard to argue that World, and now Wilds, won't be the easiest Monster Hunter experience. You can replace easiest with most approachable there. Essentially, for veteran hunters that have played all the other games, I think easiest is the right word. For new players, definitely approachable. But the point I'm making is that when we can agree that Monster Hunter gets better and better, and thus has never been better with Wilds, and believe me, that's the case, but it also has, I think, definitively been getting easier, then we reach this conclusion where easier, of course, does not mean worse. Because despite the game as a whole being easier, more approachable, there is still so much there that is A, definitively challenging and offers that endgamey scratch of test of hunting prowess while not being as artificially barriery difficult as it can be in the past. And thus we reach this sort of place where I want to say that, yeah, I believe that Wilds will be the easiest Monster Hunter for me personally because of A, all of these new smooth quality of life additions on top of what the 5th gen already did with like restocking intents, but I also firmly believe it will be the most fun I will ever have in Monster Hunter. And that's kind of fine. I'm sort of at peace at that little conundrum, or maybe conundrum's the wrong word, but you get what I'm saying. But I also fully believe there will be some absolutely brutal monsters, especially when we eventually get to title updates, and I will cart a lot, of course I will, despite my experience. And that's good too, that's also something that I want. But it would be weird if me or you, with all of your hunting experience, if indeed you have it listening to this, which I imagine you do, find yourself in a position where you are getting smashed repeatedly by a monster. I feel like at that point something's almost gone wrong, because imagine a new player, what are they going to do? And what they're going to do, like it happened in base world, is get walled by Anjanath in low rank. That happened to a load of people who picked it up for the first time. So there is always that perspective to remember that we just cannot experience Monster Hunter anymore from that learning perspective, because it's been done over and over and over for those of us that have played all of the gens and all of the games, or at least a good chunk of them. But all of this said, there is one thing that I do deeply believe has been a mistake in Monster Hunter, and now it certainly is one that I'm convinced is just going to stay forever. It is now just the fabric of Monster Hunter's makeup that I do think makes things too easy. Actually, no, not too easy. That's the wrong way to phrase it. I think simply is unhealthy for the game, and while it's relative to difficulty, it's only a side symptom. What I'm getting at here is that, bottom line, I think Wilds will be the best Monster Hunter game. I think it will be the most approachable Monster Hunter game. I will think it will be the most friendly, fluid, and quality of life filled Monster Hunter game. I think we will have the smoothest time ever as veterans in the early stages, and I still think we'll get some plenty stern challenges in the later stages. I don't think we have anything to worry about. Everything I have seen, everything we have played, that Hollow has played, that we've talked about, it's just shaping up to be marvelous. And it's way too early to judge any kind of definitive difficulty. The only thing that I want to then say to kind of round this out is it's essentially Wild specific, but modern Monster Hunter specific, and it's that topic I said I'd come back to. Restocking in tents needs to go. It needs to be eliminated. Infinite healing is bad for the game, and I will die on that hill over and over, because what it means is thus: if you can never run out of potions, then any damage that doesn't kill you doesn't matter. Which means that in order for a monster to be threatening, it has to do one of two things: one-shot you, which isn't fun to have happen, even something super telegraphed that you could easily avoid. Yes, okay, you should have avoided it, but no one likes being one-shot, right? Or two, combo you to death so fast that you can't react and physically can't heal, unless you are absolutely perfect in your dodging execution, which is better, but still not ideal. In the older Monster Hunters, when the healing that you had was the healing that you had, even getting clipped by like a tail swipe, losing 15% of your health, that is it. That is 15% of your health gone forever. If you arrive on the hunt with 10 potions, 10 mega potions, and your full health bar from eating, right? That represents, let's say, 1,000 health. That is your health to beat this hunt, 1,000. So no matter if the monster hits you for 1 or 100, that is a permanent reduction in the amount of health you have to finish this hunt. So every attack matters. Every dodge, every bit of avoidance, every way you can minimize the pain you're receiving. And that, I think, is really cool, because the monster can't heal, the monster has a finite health, every attack you land is a permanent reduction, you know, in most cases, of the monster's life. So you have this back and forth where you both have a finite amount of health, and it's who gets the better of who first, you know, a hunt. Whereas with restocking in the tents, as I say, if it doesn't kill you, it doesn't matter. You fully heal up over and over and over again, go grab more potions, fully heal up over and over and over again, go grab more potions, yada yada yada. Early game, it doesn't matter as much. It helps new players get into the groove. You don't need to restock if you're not a new player. That's all well and good. But late game... yeah, late game it is more of a problem, and I think Capcom themselves realized this a little bit by doing things like Raging Brachy's Final Arena, where you can't leave, and your healing is your healing. Or Fatalis, where he does offer that kind of level of damage speed comboiness where you really can just die even if you got healing left over on you. But it gets harder and harder and harder to create a monster that is truly threatening to hunters that can restock, and keep that level of threatening a fun, healthy threatening, not a cheap, constantly one-shot screen-wide attacks a la Frontier level of threatening. As much as I do love the lot of Frontier, you can clearly see the extreme endpoint for this kind of arms race that creates. So I would really love it to maybe not go all the way back to no restocking if it is a part of Monster Hunter now, but I would just say 1 restock per cart, and then that's all good. I think that is perhaps the sweet middle ground, and for me, yeah, that's not a specific Wilds thing. It's just a Monster Hunter thing now when it comes to restocking, and that's kind of how I feel about it. But Wilds specifically, uniquely to Wilds, I really don't think we have anything to worry about, guys. World, Iceborne, Rise, Sunbreak has proven that they can make a Monster Hunter that works on both ends of the spectrum. Approachable, smooth to play, filled with quality of life, but endgame brutalness for those that want to seek it, and I am all for it. I'm not concerned by anything we've seen, talked about, and so on, and personally, I just really cannot wait to get stuck in and enjoy the undoubted challenge that will definitely still await. I would love to know your thoughts on all of this, of course, but for now, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.